For years and years and even months, a massive question within the God of War community has been the logic of hundreds or even dozens of mythologies coexisting together. As early as God of War 2, it was clear that the Earth Kratos inhabits is not ruled solely by Greek gods, and when we saw him end up in a different mythology altogether, the floodgates opened with multiple mythologies from all over the world being confirmed as canon in the God of War world. But how is it possible? How can there be multiple sets of gods existing at the same time, having control over such things as the sea, the sky, and the sun? How is it that after apocalyptic events that seemingly affect the whole world, things are restored to normal? And most importantly, how can multiple creation stories coexist at the same time and all be true, if they are at all? Are we dealing with parallel universes? Is Kratos hopping dimensions? After extensive Wikipedia digging, I have answers to all, if not some, of these questions. And also, God of War community legend Iman R helped me by sending invaluable Twitter comments that shed the light on this confusing topic. Let's get the big thing out of the way. All God of War mythologies exist on the same physical Earth. No one is dimension hopping. It is possible to go from one mythology to another by simply traveling, whether you're a god or a mortal. This was proven many times throughout the series. The Persian king brings the power of the Ifrit and the basilisk from Arabic myths to Greek mythology. Kratos travels from Greek mythology to Egyptian mythology via boat, then to Norse mythology via boat. Mimir being from Celtic mythology. Tyr's vault showing the god traveling to other mythologies. There's a sign of Slavic gods visiting Midgard, random stuff from different mythologies and cultures just lying around in the snow, and a mysterious mask that's linked to creation itself, having many languages carved on it. At this point, it's harder to prove that mythologies don't exist on the same Earth than the other way around. But what I believe to be the strongest confirmation of this comes from this scene. It shows that some elements, in this case the primordial fire, are the very same within every mythology, one of the primeval components at the core of this world. Alright, but then, if all mythologies exist in the same physical Earth, how come there is a sun? If Helios died, how come Scandinavia wasn't affected by Greece's destruction and all those other things I said in the beginning? According to the devs, each mythology is essentially a pocket world on Earth. Effectively, the world is divided into a grid where each cell is a different mythology. This obviously is a very crude grid for demonstration purposes. But what that effectively means is that every mythology is separated by invisible, intangible barriers. Every cell of the grid or mythology has its own rules, their own sun and moon, their own underworld, and so on. Everything that happens within those cells only applies and affects that area or that mythology. The best demonstration of this is this page from the Fallen God comic. In the first two panels, Kratos is clearly still in Greece, in the sea storm caused by the death of the gods. But the last two panels, he's reached Egypt, and all of a sudden, the sea is calm, the sun is rising, and there is land, which is impossible in Greece, for obvious reasons. This is because Kratos crossed the barrier of two mythologies in between these panels. This clearly shows that Egypt and its mythology were unaffected by Kratos' actions in Greece. That's why there's land, the weather is fine, and why there is a sun. Because this isn't the son of Helios anymore. This is the son of Ra. In this context, it's important to clarify the meaning of the word world in the mythological sense. Basically, it doesn't mean the entire world or planet, it just means the entire area of that specific mythology. So when Kratos destroyed the world, he destroyed the Greek world, or the area of Greek mythology. When Kratos travels to the edge of the world, he doesn't travel to the actual edge of the world because he can't. The world is a globe. He just travels to the edge of his world, which is like here somewhere in the Mediterranean, probably. It just takes a while to get there on a flying horse. The pillar of the world and consequently Atlas don't hold up the whole actual world, just the Greek world, and if Persephone succeeded, just the Greek world would collapse, not the whole planet. Equally, in Scandinavia, the world tree doesn't encompass the whole actual world, just the Norse one. The world serpent doesn't encircle the whole planet, just Midgard, which is simply Scandinavia in this universe, and so on and so on. I think I gave enough examples at this point. And obviously, mortals and gods alike can travel and exist in whatever mythology they want, like we've seen before. You can cross the mythology barriers freely, but then you exist within the rules of the mythology you're in. For example, if you're Greek and were on the boat captain's crew, and then you sail to Midgard to hide a key or something, when you die, you go to Helheim and not Hades, because you physically existed within the jurisdiction of the Norse gods at that point, so to speak. That about clears it up how mythologies coexist on the same physical planet. But there's still a huge question that remains unanswered. The question of the creation myths. If every mythology exists, that implies that every creation myth exists as well, but how can that be? If most creation myths involve the creator god or gods literally creating the world, is only one of these creation myths true, and if so, which one? According to Cory and Bruno, just like all mythologies coexist, all creation myths coexist as well. But again, how? Well, after looking at a bunch of them, I found major aspects at their very, very beginnings that connect practically all of them. The first one: before there was something, there was nothing. An infinite void of darkness and disorder from which the creator gods emerge. We're familiar with it as Ginnungagap, or simply as chaos. Then there is the second aspect. Water is life, and in many myths, existence starts in water. Abzu in Sumeria, the sea in Celtic myth, the lake Titicaca in Inca myth. But here's the thing. In many cases, the water is described as a void. For example, Nu, the primeval void from the waters of which Atum, the Egyptian creator god, emerges. What I'm getting at is, one aspect doesn't negate the other. Water can be a void, and a void can be water. It's entirely possible for all the creator gods to emerge in the very same watery void. Chaos, Ymir, Atum, Rod, Panku, and everyone else could very much be born from the same place. And the water that they arrive from was reshaped and changed into what eventually becomes Earth. The question then becomes, how did the world become divided into all the mythologies? Did the creator gods all gather around and outline the barriers with a marker or something? The most logical answer is, the creator gods created on the spot where they were born. Ymir's remains were shaped into Midgard and the other realms within Norse mythology. Izanagi and Izanami pierced the primordial waters with a spear to form what we now know as the Japanese archipelago. In Polynesian stories, Maui fishes out New Zealand and Hawaii from the ocean. In Inca myth, Viracocha emerges from the lake Titicaca specifically, so in many cases, these geographical boundaries are set pretty specifically. That could be it. The creator gods just stayed where they were and the boundaries set themselves. Or perhaps someone set the boundaries for them. Who created the creators? How is it possible that all of them created the same things like trees and plants and animals, humans that are sometimes made in the god's image, and sometimes the creator is a giant feathered serpent? How did they all create a sun and a moon to signify the day cycle? Because sometimes the sun is a god. So what's the deal with that? And why is there a giant cow just there? In God of War Ragnarok, we are presented the now infamous rift, a byproduct of Ymir's death. According to Odin and confirmed by Atreus, it contains knowledge, truth, and potentially the key to creation itself. Odin is fascinated by it, perplexed by it. He is addicted with seeing what's within because he doesn't know what's going to happen to him after death. If a god like him, a ruler of a pantheon, looks for answers in a rift, is he truly a god at all? If there is a force out there that has the knowledge, the understanding of existence that Odin doesn't, then is there a god of gods? Corey hinted in one of his tweets that the larger actual universe, the one beyond Earth, is yet to be explored. So, is something more out there? A true god, a true creator, one who holds true power and true understanding, not like these glorified X-Men mutant gods. Look at them, a lightning power dude and a super strength dude just duking it out. These are supposed to be gods? Sure, okay. But is there really an even higher power out there? After all, in the original creation myths, most creator gods just appear out of nothing, or, for example, in Ymir's case, are born from the waters at the spark of the world. Magic lies at the core of this world, so it wouldn't be surprising for stuff like this to just happen by itself. However, in the creation myths, these creator gods are the sole creator gods in that version of the universe. But in God of War case, they all exist at the same time. And like I pointed out with the creation myths, there are similarities and patterns that can be considered just a coincidence. And it seems that someone orchestrated their creation. The main proof of such power's existence in the God of War universe is the plane of higher goddamn existence, aka the bane of my existence. Because what is it? It's like a heaven for seemingly selfless deities only or something? Why does it exist? Why can gods who went there go back to Earth in the form of a ghost and try to take over a pantheon with no repercussions? That's not very selfless, so what's the logic there? That's not very important right now, but the very existence of this place or concept implies that there is a higher power at work here, a power above the gods themselves, a god of gods. What could this power be? Honestly, it is completely to one's imagination at this point. We have zero concrete evidence for anything. Maybe it's some ultimate, unthinkable, infeasible force that a mind of a human nor god can comprehend or visualize. Maybe in a meta sense, the true creator is Santa Monica Studio in the real world, and we're gonna see Kratos kill Cory Barlog at the end of the series. Whoa! But here's another possibility, much more mythological and in style for God of War, so to speak. Captain Cuba made a video about this a while back. He suggests that the answer to creation itself is found in Gnosticism. According to it, the Earth and the material universe are created by a malevolent being called the Demiurge. He opposes God the Monad, who represents true enlightenment within his purely spiritual realm of Pleroma. And honestly, this fits pretty well with what we know so far. Demiurge is considered a lesser deity opposed to the Monad, so it fits for it to crave power and create even lesser deities from chaos, assigning them the boundaries within the void to shape the earth, instilling similar concepts like the sun and the moon and humans that unify them, and letting them develop into the mythologies we know. After all, the Demiurge represents all the faults of the physical, impure world, and I would argue that the gods in God of War, and actual mythology in some cases, in many ways reflect the imperfections that humanity has. Most gods are mean-spirited, power-hungry, bloodthirsty, and even the few good gods struggle with those vices. Rage, revenge, desire for status. For higher beings, the gods in God of War are as flawed as can be, which could be explained by them all originating from the Demiurge, a fundamentally flawed being. It could explain the higher plane of existence and afterlife for said deities. It could also explain Athena's corruption and desire for power, which seemingly goes completely unpunished as we see in Fallen God. And yes, this concept allows for an actual, tangible answer to whatever lies behind the rift. Do I believe Gnosticism to be the answer? Not necessarily, especially considering its origins, but as it is, this is the most logical explanation we might have for how creation works in God of War that is rooted in actual real-life cosmogony. Will Santa Monica ever actually delve this deep into how their universe works? Probably not in a while, if at all, because this is a large mess that I tried to tie together, especially when you remember that Christianity exists in this universe, which throws a massive wrench in this whole idea because the concept of an omnipresent, all-powerful, monotheistic God is paradoxical in this universe for obvious reasons. And that is officially where I've gone too far. This video is completely useless now. It's a massive waste of time for me to make this and for you to watch this. Congratulations. Doesn't really matter. No one watches up to this point anyway. Bye or something.